Hello, friends. Welcome to a tour of our 2014 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. Um, we got this pretty much bone stock and started outfitting it for the Pacific Northwest, and took about 6 months to outfit it the way that you see, maybe just a little bit longer. And our primary purpose is getting out, overlanding. We like long distance trips with our family of three, and my daughter sleeps in a rooftop tent when we're out, and then my wife and I sleep in an off-road teardrop trailer. Um, so this is Gus. Gus, this is everyone. And what I'm going to do is I'll give you a quick tour of all four sides. If there's anything I miss, please let me know in the comments. If you want to see anything as far as an in-depth review, I'm happy to do so. And with no further delay, let's start at the front. So this is a 37. So we're here on the front end. We've got 37 all-terrain BF Goodrich KO2s. And I got to tell you, they are what is it, 3-mountain rated. So when traction tires are advised or required, or chains, this will work in lieu of chains. The problem is that when we off-road, and we're getting ready to do another 9 days in Northern California, the tread pattern really picks up a lot of rocks when you're on any sort of a maintained Forest Service gravel road, and it picks up the rocks and it just sends them right towards the Jeep. And so the simple solution is to just get the mud train. I previously had the mud train on here before buying the 37s and didn't have that issue. And of course, occasionally a rock would come up, but not nearly as much as it does with the all-terrain. So that's something I may change this season. We also have the Method wheels in the blue. The Method wheels have a what I forget exactly what the name is of the. It's not a true beadlock, but you can take these down to roughly 12 psi, and I've never lost a bead yet. Um, I will tell you, when I take it off road, it is fully loaded, as you can see. And we're squatting in the back a little bit, and so the chance of losing a bead is fairly high when you're fully loaded, but never had one pop off yet, and they're still in great shape. I've dinged up a few, but that comes with the territory. We also have an external mounted GMRS radio antenna. Now this is what's referred to as a non-ground plane antenna. This is actually a full wave antenna, and I think it's 5/8 wave. And the reason being is that the mount is not grounded to the body, and if you have an antenna that requires a ground plane, it needs to be mounted to a source that's grounded to the body. And I've checked the SWR on this, and it's within spec, no issue. So that's the reason for the size. I've seen the Ghost antennas. Actually have one in the Jeep I took off. Not really great radio reception or transmission. And sometimes our group is spread out when we're overlanding mile, 2 miles. And so it's really nice to have a decent antenna. Now, obviously you can, if you travel in areas where you've got branches and a lot of brush, this does have a spring on the bottom, but I'm obviously aware of the fact that if I'm going into brush, I need to make sure to take this into consideration. Okay, so you can see that we've got an ARS metal cloak um, external skeleton for a roof rack. And the reason why I went with the ARS metal cloak rack system is that Gobi, Front Runner, they both fall off at 300 pounds of dynamic load. And I'm not worried about static load because that's generally speaking not what you have to be concerned about. It's going to be dynamic load. And I can tell you with this rooftop tent and the awning, I'm over 300 pounds. And I certainly want to make sure that the setup is safe, that it's going to be adequately supported. And Metal Cloak actually posts on their website that this external rack system is rated at 375 pounds of dynamic load. So that's fantastic. They're one of the few that'll do that. And of course, I got the catwalk just because, well, let's face it, it looks cool. So I also opted for the Metal Cloak side steps, as you can see here, that are integrated into the hinges. It definitely comes in handy when you're trying to manipulate the canvas on the rooftop tent. And keeping it from billowing out as you're closing the rooftop tent. And so great addition. And of course, they look stellar too. Okay, so let's go ahead and walk back here. This is usually how I have this set up. This is going to be the rock slider jerry can holders for your Rotopacks. Great system. The rock slider system fits, I think it's up to a 42-inch tire. Never had any issues with it off-road. I can see, though, that this needs to be adjusted slightly. But one thing to take into consideration when you're mounting your rock slider is that you kind of want to leave things a little loose and open up your tailgate to the fullest extent that you're capable of opening it to make sure that you're not impacting the hard or soft top when you open up. Now, what I have is I have the rough country bumper system with the integrated tire carrier. I know there's a lot of different options when it comes to your rear bumper, whether you're going to carry a spare tire. If you do carry a spare tire, if you're just going to hang it on the factory gate. Now, anything over, and this is an opinion, but anything over 33s, you really should start looking at a reinforced tailgate. Now, if you go with an independent tire carrier, such as the one here, obviously you don't need to reinforce the tailgate. I like having it set up like this. Yes, it's a little bit more cumbersome because you're opening the tire gate. Now this one doesn't have a stop in it. It's one feature that I'd really love to see Rough Country improve on is to add a stop. So that way it doesn't open and swing all the way. Small minor inconvenience. I also carry a Trasharoo, as you can see. Once I put it on, I never took it off. It's been on since I've actually mounted it. It looks like it needs to be adjusted because it's kind of doing the I'm hanging low thing. I got this from Venture to Roam. They carried a Trasharoo, and I loved just the multi-purpose use. We carry toiletries, and of course this is toilet paper, and then my biodegradable bags, and then I also have a gel powder in here as well, and that just goes on the top. And then in here I've got the portable loo, and I've got my steps here. These are super handy to have. And so I've got a couple of those. Portable loo. This is for privacy, and it's a simple pop-up. Watch the YouTube videos on how to close these. I struggled immensely when I, oh, and you want to make sure that you're wearing face protection when you open these because they pop out like nobody's business. Anyhow, and you can get those on Amazon. They're relatively inexpensive. And then some sort of collapsible toilet. That's really all you need. Nothing fancy, but definitely makes overlanding that much more comfortable. One of the first things I set up, because I do travel with my lovely wife and daughter, and then there's plenty of room in here that I can carry trash. So I always carry the trash in here, and then whenever we get to whatever our next stop is, we find a trash receptacle where we can deposit the trash. And then let's go ahead and talk. Just because we're here and the lighting is really good. This is the rooftop tent that we purchased at Overland Expo in Redmond last year. And I'm going to tell you, I've been so far thoroughly impressed with it. We had intended on buying a different brand. We actually intended on buying a 023. Oh my goodness, the 023, it unfolds. It's a hard shell, and this is a hard shell as well. It's a hard shell, and it opens up this way, lengthwise, not like a clamshell. Okay, so it opens up, and then the floor comes out, and my God, you have over a king size in your rooftop tent. Now, if you're a family of 3 or more, and you just want to have a rooftop tent, that's an amazing opportunity to get everybody onto the roof and comfortable and safe. And I definitely would look that direction. But I was only trying to accommodate either myself when I solo or my daughter when we are together as a family. And when I looked at, and I narrowed it down to 3 different brands, okay? When I looked at the Bush Company rooftop tents, I was thoroughly impressed with what they were offering. Yes, it's a premium, all aluminum, made in Australia rooftop tent. So it does come with a premium price tag, okay? But they have this unique rail mounted system here, as you can see on the top. This mount here is for the 270 awning. That's for the ladder, which I have down at in the teardrop trailer. So I went ahead and opened this up, and I wanted to show you the rooftop tent. Now I don't have the top awning supported. It's 2 bars. Only takes about 3 minutes to put the bars in, and the awning comes out. So we've got over here is going to be for the ladder, and so you can access this from either the back or the sides. Obviously, with the 270 awning, we're going to have the ladder off to the side here. Kept using my hand to to show the features of this rooftop tent, and the video kept cutting out because of hand gestures. So anyhow, this is for the ladder. I don't know how many times the video is going to keep saying that, but this is for the ladder. It's adjustable along this rail. You can actually add, and I've got a shovel mount that I'm going to add to this, so I can carry a full-size shovel. And then of course we've got the brackets for the 270 awning. Let's walk around to the back side so I can start showing you some of what's well, we don't have any fancy setups back here. No pull-out drawers or cabinets, and that seems to work. If there's actually a brand called ARS. I met them at Overland Expo last year, and I think that's going to be an addition in 2024 to 2025 to the rear of the Jeep Wrangler. But we've got the tailgate table. This is made here in the US. seen it on a lot of YouTube videos. And I got to tell you, it's great to have on the Wrangler because you can just push the tailgate open, grab a couple of snacks, make some sandwiches super fast. Nice to have a table ready to rock and roll. You don't have to break anything else out. We've been doing a lot of cooking on our Jetboil Genesis system. It's a really nice system, a little pricey, but because it has 2 burners, it's super compact and portable. It seems to be the #1 cooking device that we have been using for 2023. Now, I actually carry most of the time 2 different cooking systems. I carry the Jetboil, and then I also carry the Front Runner, which we saw last year at Expo West in Redmond. And the Front Runner system, it's not nearly as robust as far as the Jetboil is concerned. But the nice thing about the Front Runner system is that it has a flat plate, so it could be a griddle, or it has a barbecue plate, and it could be a grill. So that's nice. And then it also, you can take those 2 plates out, and then it can be used as a standard 1 burner stove. And so you can put a pot on it. So I'm still up in the air because the nice thing about the Front Runner system is that it gives you everything in 1 package versus the Jetboil, which just gives you a burner. Now, granted, the Jetboil Genesis also comes with uh, 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 non-stick pot, which the whole system fits into, and then a pan that goes on the top. So we'll have to see how that does this year. I'd like to get down to 1 system so that we're not carrying a lot, but I digress. We carry all of our kitchen supplies, such as knives, bowls, some more pots. And then, of course, don't leave home and forget the spatula. So you need a metal spatula if you're going to be working with anything such as a barbecue, plastic spatula if you have non-stick. And then I always make sure I've got a cutting board or 2. And and we have coffee maker in here. So a little bit of everything just to keep camp moving along as far as the kitchen setup is concerned. Our pantry, interesting enough, was just another plastic container put on top of this. Went through 700-800 miles of the Washington BDR. No issue whatsoever with that setup. It just, and the great thing is that you can take it out, spread it out, put it back in when you're all done. And then we've got a fairly inexpensive straw mat that we can put out if we're going to be there all day. Like if we roll up to camp and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, set up the straw mat. Nice to have. Keeps the feet clean. It's really more of a cosmetic than anything else, but doesn't take up any time to set that up. We also have a Dometic, and keep in mind this is a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, and this is a Dometic CFX 45, and it fits perfectly back here. Now it's not on a slide, so it doesn't raise off of the floor. It's just sat directly on the floor, and then whenever we need anything, funny enough as it is, if we need something from inside the refrigerator, I just stuff a roll of paper towels in it to keep the hinge open because the back seat tries to push it closed again. Okay, so just simply stuff it, and I'm not sure if you can see that. Simply stuff it in the hinge, grab whatever you need. In fact, I'm getting a little thirsty, so I'm just going to grab a nice cold soda. Now, a couple of things with the CFX, okay? There is a nice little interior light, which I love having an interior LED light. When you open that, you can see what's in there or where it is, right? Well, it's no longer sticking to the mold that it sits in. And so that's a little bit of an aggravation, being that I've only had this one season. The other thing is that the 12-volt cord that comes with the Dometic, be careful that you don't set anything on top of it. I just went for a 2-day overlanding trip down to Lake Shasta, and I ran the cord from this side of the Jeep under and across, and I just had this plastic bin on top of the cord, and unfortunately it did not like that. And I think I shorted the cord out. I think there's a break in it now. Either way, it doesn't matter. Had to buy a new cord. So word to the wise, just make sure you don't set anything on top of your 12-volt cord. It seems to be a little fragile. Wasn't really impressed with the fact that it only lasted a couple of days in that scenario. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the Wrangler now that we've taken a look at the back. And again, if you see anything that you want further information, just comment. I do carry one of the new kinetic ropes that we're seeing. Haven't used it yet. Hopefully won't need to, but I do carry a kinetic rope. This is going to be made by Rhino USA, fairly inexpensive. If you're using your recovery equipment quite frequently, obviously you probably want something built a little more robustly, but this is a good emergency kinetic rope. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of it. So I got to tell you, and I know I'm in the shade, so hopefully you're able to see me okay, but I wanted to give you an idea of the amount of space that this 270 awning provides. Super excited because this is going to be our first year that we've had the rooftop tent and the awning on top of the Wrangler. Last year we actually had it on top of the teardrop because I was waiting for some components for the rack. And while we were waiting, we had some overlanding trips planned, and so just made sure that we had it on the little teardrop, the off-road teardrop trailer. And so we weren't able to use the awning, but I got to tell you, it's amazing. It's one of the things that sold me on the Bush Company system and our quality of components. We were looking for an awning, and we wanted something that was robust, and I also wanted a 270. As you can see, it wraps around, covers anybody who's working back here on the doing, whether it's making a sandwich or doing dishes, and you're adequately covered, sun or rain. Now there is a small gap that you could get a little rain in there, but I'm not terribly too worried about that. And then of course it goes all the way around to the front of the Jeep. Now one of the features and one of the things that I really like about this system is that it is 100% self-supporting. There are no legs. I have no legs to put down. Now, if we have a 20-mile-per-hour wind, then we loop right here, and there's loops at all of these arms. We're going to go ahead and put guide ropes down and secure those into the earth, 20 miles per hour or more. Now, I don't know about you, but where I camp, I generally speaking don't have access to the internet, and so I don't know what's gonna happen with the wind. Before I settle down for the night, I'm gonna tie this bad boy down. So I'm either putting it away or I'm tying it down. I'm not going to wait for the wind to kick up and have an issue. This is like a big giant sail. So what happens is the wind comes along, the ground, and then it gets to the vehicle and it tries to lift this up. And that's why you have the guide ropes, is just to keep it from trying to lift up. And if you do install the walls, that's when you get the legs, because what happens is that the wall stops the wind and it pushes this direction and it tries to pull the awning down. And so you only need the pulls if you're going to have the walls installed. And I got to tell you that in most cases where I am camping, where I'm overlanding, I'm not dealing with a lot of rain, because we usually overland in the summer. And if we have inclement weather, this is a very large area, and you just bring your chairs a little closer to the vehicle, and then you're not getting rained on. Okay, so I've got the hinge steps here on this side. I also carry, I do have mud flaps, and I know that those are, some people choose not to have mud flaps. Some people like them. I like these because they're super stout. I've had them on thousands of miles off-road, never had an issue. Now, I'm not doing the Rubicon. If I was doing the Rubicon, I'd just simply take them off. They're rock blocks, mud flaps. They install without drilling the body and or frame. They install in pre-existing holes. And on this one, with one small thumb screw bolt, you can remove this, and two up front. And it's a 3-minute job. So, okay, so we've covered the awning, and let's go around to the front, because there's some interesting business out front too. So one of the things that if you're a solo overlander, four-wheeler, you always want to plan for the worst. And I strongly suggest not soloing, but sometimes our schedules just don't allow us to connect with our friends and family. And gosh darn it, you want to take that camping trip, or you want to go and explore a new area, and it just doesn't line up for you to get together with friends. And so if you decide that you're going to solo, one of the first pieces of equipment that you get before you get a lift, before you get tires, is you want to get a good quality winch. That's the number one recovery item. Get you out of a pickle, and definitely get yourself a good quality winch. I would advise not getting something that cannot be supported, i.e., look at where your support's going to come from. Can you call customer service? Can you have a conversation? Are they going to have replacement parts for when your winch needs to be repaired, rebuilt, serviced, or warrantied? That's what I got to say about that. Now, of course, budget comes into play. If you cannot afford something that's made in the US, then look for a company that has a customer service line where they'll pick up the phone and they'll help you get your winch serviced and back in good standing working order. Okay? A lot of people talk about winches that they purchase, and they're sub $400, and there's a reason why they're sub $400. And I think that there's areas that we can save on when it comes to overlanding and accessorizing our vehicles. I don't think a winch is something that I'm going to sacrifice quality over value. Okay, so I've got a Zeon 10 Warn winch, and I do have the cable system. The cable system did save me, I think, $300-400. The cable system's been around for decades, and it's not necessarily the best, Would I prefer a synthetic rope? Absolutely, hands down. A synthetic rope does not retain the kinetic energy that our winches, really um, subject the cables to. We've all seen the YouTube videos where we've had cables whip back and go through windshields. That's another thing. If you're winching, safety, safety, safety. Put a winch, excuse me, put a winch blanket, especially if you're running a cable system. Put a winch blanket on it. Make sure that you give it just that much more opportunity to stop before it impacts your vehicle or, God forbid, anybody that's standing around. That's another thing. If you're winching, make sure you don't have bystanders super close to where you're winching, okay? They too can get injured. So what I have on the front end, this is a rough country bumper. Forget the name of the bumper, but it is a rough country bumper. I would say that it's held up really well. It looks good. It functions, holds the winch, some fog lights. Um, it got dinged probably during the install process, and so there's a little bit of rust on it. I need to get that touched up with some Rust-Oleum, little brush. That's all that's needed. But you can see after a year, needs to be cleaned. It's dirty, but other than that, looks pretty good. Some nice LEDs. Great, great upgrade for the Wrangler. It does allow us to see that much better. On top of the Bush Company rooftop tent, we've got 400 watts of solar panel. Those are Rhenology panels, and they were installed by Bush Company in Grants Pass, Oregon. We don't have them yet hooked up. I had debated whether or not I was going to hook them up in the off-road trailer that we have, and decided to wait until they were on the Jeep. And now they're on the Jeep, or I should say the rooftop tents on the Jeep. I'm going to put a couple of lithium batteries in. I've got an inverter, and I've got a MPPT DC to DC controller. All that's going to be added to the Jeep this year. So we have adequate power to really power anything out on the trail with two 100 amp Battleborn batteries. And then, of course, the ability to recharge when we're sitting still or when we're moving, no problem. We're going to have all the power we need. So that is the front of the Wrangler. And and you'll see that I do have a crack in the windshield. That comes with the territory. We were overlanding last year, and actually we were on the freeway, and somebody else, threw up some rocks, and it happens. So, but I do have a GoPro mount, and maybe I'll show you just a little bit of the inside. You'll have to excuse the mess because we do use this vehicle day to day and year round. All right, let's take a look at the inside. Boy, this thing looks busy, doesn't it? Okay, so on the passenger side, you'll see that we have a rugged radio mount. And it is a great mount because it just uses the seat bolt. And I mounted the Wouxun 1000, I think is what it is, which is a GMRS radio. It's a dual band, so you can monitor one channel and scan others. I probably underutilize it because really the only time I use it is when I'm with a group and we are trying to communicate with each other. So I do have an external speaker on the dash, and that allows me to hear people when we're at freeway speeds. In addition to that, I've got a bullet point mounting, which is for two cell phones, the mic, and then I've got another mount on the opposite side, plus the GoPro is mounted to it as well. You'll see that I've got all kinds of accessory cords. This is going to be for an iPhone, and this is for a newer iPhone or a USB-C which can recharge a lot of different electronic devices. And then, of course, I've got the Blue Ridge. This is a super handy thing because we always carry, let's just face it, we carry stuff with us. And that Blue Ridge bag allows me to carry more stuff because the Wrangler suffers from a very small glove compartment. So we carry just different things in there. You'll see that we have Jeep parts. I've got a Jeep part that needs to be fixed. And, we'll carry, it might be lipstick or chapstick or work gloves or any number of things. So that is an awesome addition to our Wrangler. Love having the extra storage. Back seat, well, that holds our little inverter. That little inverter powers the CFX 45. And as long as I'm moving daily, it provides enough power for that refrigerator to run all the way through the night. So on this side of the Wrangler, I got to point something out. Anybody that travels in the Pacific Northwest should always have easy access to bear repellent. Now, I've been in the Pacific Northwest for, the majority of my life, and up until this last weekend, never ran into a bear, never saw a bear. And I'll tell you what, I am super happy that I had some bear repellent. This is really convenient. It can strap onto a belt, easily comes out of its holder. Luckily enough, I didn't have to use it. So I'm even happier about that. But you should always have bear repellent with you at all times to make sure that, you're able to defend yourself, because even in the event that you carry, you'd have to carry a very large weapon with you at all times. And I'd have to say that this is probably more accurate when you are faced with a situation where you've got a large adult bear and you're having to defend yourself. Anyhow, and then I always make sure I have, whenever I overland, or actually this is just here, I love having baby wipes because, well, you can use it to clean all kinds of things: hands, face, armpits, body. It doesn't matter. Just a trusty flashlight, paracord. Paracord is super handy to have at camp. You can use it for all kinds of things. And so I, generally speaking, have paracord with me. And then, of course, this is an IR gun. I was having some issues with the rear end of the Jeep, and toss this in here. And this allows me to monitor the temperature and the differentials. So anytime I come to a stop, I just shoot the differentials, make sure that they're running cool enough that there isn't any issues and no danger of overheating the differentials. Because I did upgrade the gears. I'm running 513s because of the 37s. And, I just want to make sure that the diff is staying cool. So the other thing I've got up here is going to be the GoPro. When I run and I overland, I usually have my GoPro set up there on the dash, and it allows me to film my adventures up there on the dash. You can see it just above the steering wheel. And if I'm not actively filming, what I'll do is I will go ahead and you can see it up there. I'll zoom in a little bit. Excuse me. I will just bring the GoPro down so it gives me a little bit more windshield. I like mounting the GoPro off on the far left because it's less intrusive. But right now, I'm needing to make a repair to that vector bar. So the vector bar in the Wranglers, there's a post that comes down here, another post on the far side, goes through the plastic dash and then into some tabs that the Wrangler has. Well, one of those tabs, they have bolts that come up through those tabs. Well, one of those bolts sheared off, unfortunately. And so I'm going to use a little bit of epoxy putty and repair that mounting point as best as I can. So that's the driver's side. You can see things are busy, but not as busy as most. And I think, well, I should actually talk about one other thing. I did forget one important feature of the Jeep. We've got the attic netting by Blue Ridge, and I got to tell you, we stuff so much up there. Here's a jacket. Here's a blanket. This is a rumple blanket. I've even got a little car pillow up here somewhere. And then and we also have hats and you name it. But yep, that's the attic in the Jeep Wrangler.